Hey everyone, this is James. Welcome to the channel, and spoiler alert for this video. For pretty much everything The Walking Dead, I'll be talking about the main show, I'll be talking about Fear, World Beyond, the spinoffs, several things, so definitely spoiler alert. So through pieces of the show, certain scenes and certain episodes here and there, some non-directly, some very directly, tell us about things like Operation Cobalt and different things that happened throughout the early stages of the outbreak. I've done videos on Operation Cobalt, on the military and what happened, how it started to break down. Of course, Operation Cobalt didn't go well, so they initiated another string of events. And then what happened to the military and government at that point? Of course, that question leads to after the outbreak, where we have Civic Republic and the CRM. Were they a thing before? I don't think so. I think it evolved into that. Back when all of this really started, they didn't know a lot. The military had been deployed. Operation Cobalt eventually happened. It's the name given to the plan devised by the Department of Defense and the military to stop the spread of the virus, right? So supposedly, Cobalt was 3 days after the zombie virus main outbreak. You know, we come into it later in the Walking Dead main show. Rick wakes up later into it. But in Fear the Walking Dead, we kind of see day one. Everything, society kind of breaking down. So in Fear, we even see 3 days in, Cobalt. The military was herding people into safe zones, and anybody outside of that, survivors, whatever, zombies, were killed. They said to kill. So a lot of areas had safe zones, had some medical facilities there, refugee type centers. I think they probably at a certain point said, we're not going to let any new people in that we find outside of this safe zone that we set up. It was definitely total chaos, killing citizens, just a lot of crazy stuff. We saw that when Shane was trying to rescue Rick. They did all of that. None of that was working. Everything was still breaking down and falling apart. They were losing. So the United States Army, the President of the United States, the government, they began a contingency plan. And that's the major cities being bombed. The actual safe zones that they had set up earlier during Operation Cobalt, they said, yeah, those are getting overrun. Let's bomb the cities. Let's try to contain this best we can. And we do see a glimpse of that in Season 2, Episode 5. Lori and Shane see the jets fly over, see Atlanta being bombed. So I think it's after this. Once this was over, whatever was left of the military, whatever was left of the government, they probably came out of their bunkers, got together. They tried to bring in whatever army units they could. And, any civilians trusting, I don't know if they had a way to test or if they let civilians in. They have 200,000 people in Civic Republic. So surely that's one of the safe zones that maybe, they didn't bomb. They're like, okay, this is where the head of government is at the moment, or what we think is the head of government. So, let's try to protect this at all costs. And even now it's a hidden city. Like, they don't tell anybody where it is. They don't tell anybody anything about it. It's supposed to be this big secret, the Civic Republic. But it does seem once Operation Cobalt failed, the contingency plan happened and it didn't work either, that whoever was left gathered in Philadelphia, even though that city's bombed too. We see that across the river from Rick. It's bombed out too, but we see it bombed out also in like World Beyond and stuff. We get a few shots. Silas and Jadis out that big window. But part of it, they got part of it there, at least, that's walled off or protected, and that's the Civic Republic part. I definitely don't think when they say hidden city, it's like underground or anything crazy like that. It does seem that's how Civic Republic would have started, would have formed, and they eventually found these other communities once they got their military up and had their helicopters flying out, probably. They could have been in contact somehow by radio. But it does seem some parts of the government got together, some people, and said, okay, let's form the Civic Republic and we'll have a military side of things, because a lot of the military were there as well. Most of the people that came into Philadelphia, I guess, into that safe zone, after the contingency plan happened, they all assembled there, and most of them probably were military versus government. So when they formed the Civic Republic, they had a thing written up that said the military will be in power and kind of stay in control and kind of look over things for 10 years. And then a civilian oversight committee will be formed, and a government, the government will start taking over more and more versus the military being in charge. And that's the whole thing about World Beyond. Huck and Dennis in that little coffee shop, they're back at the research facility in New York. And in the paper, it talks about all of that. How Major General Bill is in power. He's going to have to turn that back over to a civilian oversight. And he's like, nah, there's some big hordes out there. They're destroying Omaha and things like that. There's just too much SHIT out there. I need to stay in charge longer. So that's what it's all about, a big fight with power. I think that's going to go into the spinoffs, of course, with Rick battling against Major General Bill. I have got a World Beyond recap kind of thing in case you didn't watch it or need a refresher of it coming. But just in case you didn't watch World Beyond or don't remember some of the exact stuff about it, why was Omaha destroyed and why did they want to then eventually destroy Portland? Well, the CRM did a study that revealed that Omaha, Campus Colony, and Portland, they were never going to be able to be on their own, be self-sufficient. Like, they're going to have to keep getting supplies from Civic Republic. They're going to have to keep giving them supplies. They're just never going to be able to be on their own, which is kind of crazy and weird that they couldn't figure that out. But the study said the entire alliance would fall because of the strain on resources. So that's when Major General Bill, I guess it was, decided, hey, well, let's just wipe them out. This helps with my plan of trying to stay in power. It helps with answering the study that, hey, they're going to bring us down eventually. So we just, we need to treat them like an enemy more so than a friend because they're the ones, they're drowning and they got a hold of us and they're going to pull us under too. We need to cut loose of those guys. They did wipe out Omaha and Campus Colony. We know Portland has been warned now since the end of World Beyond. It kind of stopped at that moment, but we know, hey, Portland's about to get warned. And so Portland survived. We're not sure if Jadis is going to, hey, Portland kind of got sidetracked. We need to get back on that and make sure that happens because they're probably going to warn them. And now they truly are our enemy. We need to take them out. But of course, we got the scientists that survived in World Beyond. We don't know, what part they'll play. But we also have Silas on the inside and Rick on the inside. And through World Beyond, the whole AB thing, Jadis giving people to the CRM, to the helicopter people, all of that kind of stuff. The A's being test subjects that they would be bitten out in the field. So the scientists would just go, oh, another bitten person. How tragic. When in reality, of course, they had someone like Jadis just capture somebody, have them get bitten, and hand them over. Very easy peasy. They didn't have to go out in the wild and actually catch some bitten person. But of course, that was Project Votus. It was that research project, and they were studying the effects of reanimation through death, so they had to have a bitten person. I think we know bees are probably like a Silas or a Rick that goes to the culling facility. We also know of the health and welfare complex. One of the soldiers were sent there, but then he ended up in the lab, as a test subject A. We know that Lieutenant Colonel Kublik was sent there at the end. And, will she end up being an A or will they actually try to rehabilitate her? That's probably where Rick is going. And, Kublik got there a whole lot later than Rick. Rick should have been there in the past. As far as the World Beyond timeline, when Jadis sent Kublik to the health and welfare complex. So Rick should have maybe already been gone. Maybe Kublik and Rick somehow team up inside there. Maybe he's still in there. But going forward, as far as the spinoffs go, there's a lot of plot holes still left, especially like Fear the Walking Dead. We got Isabel, the pilot, and what will she do now that Al's back with her? Will they do anything about that tape, the Bog tape? They set that up, or will it play out some other way? Like, okay, we just mentioned it to you here, but you'll see it play out by somebody else some other way. Does it even matter? Is that a plot hole? There's definitely some little pieces here and there we don't have, maybe some stuff I didn't mention, but we kind of see the story in a bigger picture this way, and we kind of see how, well, we know what they need to tell as far as the story going forward. We just don't know exactly how. Okay, the Rick and Michonne show, it's going to be this epic love story, but it still kind of needs to be Rick against Major General Bill. But hey, I just wanted to say all of this to kind of open up the discussion for you guys. Join me down in the comments below, and we can talk about it a little more. This is James in Nashville. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more dead stuff.